Beyond the quiet plains and endless skies, a darker current flows through North Dakota. Have you ever felt a sudden chill, a whisper in the empty air, or the undeniable presence of something unseen tonight? We journey into the shadows, exploring 15 places where history refuses to stay buried and restless spirits still roam. Prepare yourself, for not all stories end with the living. 15. International Peace Garden, Dunseith. At the serene International Peace Garden in Dunseith, an unnatural, oppressive silence often falls, heavy enough to make the air itself feel dense. Visitors frequently report sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature, chilling them to the bone even on warm days. As dusk settles, faint, unidentifiable sounds of distant drums or ethereal singing are said to echo through the landscape, their origins unknown, weaving a spectral tapestry through this place meant for harmony. 14. The old post office, Fargo, North Dakota. The distant echoes of unseen music or drumming at the Peace Garden might send shivers down your spine, but sometimes the whispers are much closer, much more intimate, and carry the scent of a bygone era. In the heart of Fargo, what once served as the bustling old post office, now reimagined as modern apartments, still holds a chilling secret within its historic walls. Residents and visitors alike report an unsettling coldness that doesn't belong, an unnatural draft that snakes through hallways and settles in corners, even when windows are sealed shut. It's a cold that seems to penetrate bone, defying logic. Adding to this spectral chill are the faint, indistinct voices, a murmur of conversations that aren't quite audible, yet undeniably present, as if remnants of past patrons or workers are forever trapped in a loop. But perhaps most unnerving is the phantom olfactory experience, the sudden, inexplicable appearance of a faint, musty scent of old paper and the distinct, lingering aroma of cigar smoke, quickly fading into nothingness. It's a sensory haunting that hints at stories untold, lives once lived within these very confines, leaving a ghostly imprint that refuses to be completely erased. If the whispers and faint scents of the old post office were subtle, our journey now takes a turn towards a more immediate, jarring dread. 13. Burlington School, Burlington. The old Burlington School stands as a monument to abandoned education, but its halls are far from empty. A chilling silence blankets the decaying structure, so profound it feels heavier than any sound, pressing down on those who dare to enter. This suffocating quiet is often shattered by sudden, violent noises, unexplained crashes, furious scraping sound, or even distant, childlike cries echoing from unseen corners. The air itself is a constant, biting cold, independent of the weather outside, seeping into your bones. And as you navigate the darkened classrooms, a spectral scent of old chalk and rotting wood, tinged with a metallic tang, permeates the atmosphere. A phantom reminder of youthful learning twisted into something far more sinister. 12. The State Capitol Building, Bismarck. If the haunting echoes of children in a forgotten school stir a primal fear, then prepare for a different kind of dread, one that seeps into the very institutions of power, where secrets are kept not just in documents, but in the air itself. At the heart of North Dakota, the majestic State Capitol Building in Bismarck, a symbol of governance and order, harbors an unsettling secret. Within its grand halls and stoic offices, staff and visitors alike report inexplicable cold spots that suddenly manifest, sending shivers down the spine even on the warmest days. The faint, disembodied footsteps echo through empty corridors after hours, and the distinct creaking of unseen doors opening and closing adds to the unsettling atmosphere. Most chilling of all is the pervasive, heavy sensation of being watched, an undeniable presence that seems to scrutinize every move, transforming the seat of state power into a silent, watchful crypt. If the echoes of unseen footsteps still haunt the grand corridors of power, then our next destination proves that spirits can linger even in the most convivial of settings, albeit with a chilling twist. 11. The Grape Mill. Bismarck's The Grape Mill, a popular restaurant and bar, offers more than just fine dining and drinks. It serves up a side of unexplained chill. Patrons and staff alike frequently report sudden, dramatic drops in temperature that defy any logical explanation. One moment, the room is warm and lively. The next, a deep, bone-chilling cold sweeps through, causing goosebumps to rise and breath to mist, only to dissipate as quickly as it arrived. Beyond the inexplicable cold, a subtle symphony of the supernatural plays out. Faint whispers, just beyond the edge of hearing, seem to drift through the air, sometimes accompanied by the ethereal strains of distant, unfamiliar music. These auditory phenomena are never quite clear enough to decipher, adding to the pervasive sense of unease. Yet, and perhaps the most striking sensory experience is the phantom fragrance, an old, sweet perfume that materializes out of thin air, wafting through the space before vanishing as mysteriously as it appeared. It's a scent that conjures images of a bygone era, leaving a lingering question of who once wore it, and why their essence still clings so powerfully to this vibrant establishment. From the fleeting scent of old perfume, we now shift from whispers to undeniable echoes. What happens when subtle sensations escalate into chilling, consistent encounters, corroborated by those who witness them daily? 10. Pembina State Museum. Pembina. The Pembina State Museum, a repository of North Dakota's rich history, holds secrets far darker than any relic on display. This isn't a place of mere rumor. It's a site where the very fabric of reality seems to fray, a fact consistently reported by those who know its halls best, the dedicated staff and vigilant security guards. They speak of inexplicable phenomena that transcend the ordinary lights independently flicking on and off in otherwise deserted rooms, display cases where artifacts shift their positions overnight, and the distinct sound of footsteps pacing empty corridors, seemingly without a source. These aren't fleeting shadows or momentary glitches. They are persistent, unsettling occurrences that paint a clear picture of a place unwilling to let go of its unseen inhabitants. Perhaps the most compelling testament to the museum's haunted nature comes from former security guard Dave Thompson. Tasked with protecting the museum's historical treasures, Thompson instead found himself confronted by an invisible force he couldn't comprehend. His chilling accounts of disembodied voices whispering his name in the dead of night, objects flying off shelves when no one was near, and an overwhelming sense of being constantly watched ultimately led him to a difficult decision. He resigned. Thompson's departure wasn't a choice made lightly, but was compelled by the relentless, terrifying experiences that convinced him the museum harbored something truly supernatural. His story, widely known among locals, serves as potent social proof that the Pembina State Museum is indeed home to spirits who refuse to fade into history. But what happens when the chill isn't confined to dusty exhibits, but infiltrates the very walls designed for security and strength? Our journey now takes us to a place where the specters of the past loom large within a structure built for the present. 9. Grand Forks Air Force Base, Building 600 Grand Forks. Within the austere confines of Grand Forks Air Force Base, Particularly Building 600, tales of the unexplained have circulated like a whispered order for decades. It's not just a single incident, but a persistent chorus of unnerving experiences reported by those who serve and support. Military personnel and medical staff alike have routinely encountered unexplained cold spots that sweep through hallways, disembodied voices murmuring just beyond comprehension, and the unsettling sensation of being touched or brushed against when no one else is near. These are not isolated incidents dismissed as mere imagination. The stories have taken root, spreading widely among military families, evolving into a chilling local legend. The shared nature of these encounters among a disciplined and often skeptical community lends an undeniable weight to the spectral presence within Building 600, proving that even in places of vigilance, some entities refuse to stand down. 8. NDSU Stevens Hall. Fargo, from the cold, concrete hallways where soldiers whisper tales of the unseen. We now turn to a different kind of institution, where the specter of a past student still haunts her halls. What happens when the pursuit of knowledge gives way to an eternal vigil, and a life tragically cut short leaves an indelible mark on the very architecture North Dakota State University's Stevens Hall in Fargo, a vibrant hub of academic life, harbors a darker secret beneath its bustling facade. For decades, both students and faculty have been unsettled by a chilling array of paranormal activities, transforming ordinary dorm life into a constant brush with the unexplained. Reports frequently surface of strange, disembodied noises echoing through the corridors, faint whispers, the rustling of papers in empty rooms, or even distant, mournful sighs that seem to originate from nowhere. Objects are said to possess a will of their own, shifting position, falling from shelves, or even being moved across room, defying gravity and logic without any human intervention. At the heart of Stevens Hall's spectral reputation is the enduring legend of a young woman's ghost, believed to be a former student who met a tragic and untimely end within these very walls. Her spectral presence is often felt, if not always explicitly seen, creating an atmosphere of lingering sorrow and profound unease. Many describe a sudden drop in temperature, a fleeting scent of old perfume, or the distinct sensation of an invisible presence passing by. The most compelling evidence comes from current and former dorm residents. They recount numerous unsettling incidents that have become part of the hall's oral tradition, doors inexplicably slamming shut in the dead of night, lights flickering erratically even after maintenance checks, and the pervasive feeling of being watched by an unseen entity, especially when alone. These aren't isolated incidents but recurring phenomena, consistently reported across different generations of students. Such widespread and consistent accounts from a diverse group of witnesses, from those living intimately within its walls to the academics who teach there, lend significant credence to the idea that Stevens Hall is indeed a potent hotspot for the supernatural. It stands as a somber reminder that some tragedies are so profound, they leave an eternal imprint, binding a soul to the place where dreams once thrived and then shattered. If the silent, sorrowful presence of Stevens Hall left you pondering unseen tragedies, prepare yourself for a different kind of spectral disturbance. What happens when the spirits aren't just lingering, but actively participating, even causing chaos in a bustling establishment? 7. Sodbuster Bar. Davenport. Nestled in the quiet town of Davenport, the Sodbuster Bar might seem like any other local watering hole, a place for good company and cold drinks. But step inside, and you might just find yourself caught in the crossfire of an otherworldly happy hour. This isn't a place where spirits merely whisper. They make their presence known with undeniable force. turning ordinary evenings into tales of the supernatural. The reputation of the Sodbuster Bar as a hotbed of paranormal activity isn't just local folklore. It's a living on a breathing reality witnessed by countless individuals. Both the bar's owners and its loyal customers have come forward with astonishing accounts of objects moving on their own. Imagine enjoying a quiet drink, only for a bottle to suddenly launch itself off a shelf, or for the lights to flicker wildly, plunging the room into momentary darkness before springing back to life. These aren't isolated incidents, but rather a recurring pattern of poltergeist-like phenomena that defy logical explanation. What truly solidifies the Sodbuster Bar's eerie status is the testimony of its current owner, Mike Johnson. Far from being a skeptic, Johnson has openly and repeatedly discussed the myriad of strange events that regularly transpire within his establishment. His candid recounting of flying glassware, unexplained bangs, and the feeling of unseen forces at play lends immense weight to the bar's haunted claims. For Johnson and his patrons, these aren't just ghost stories. They are genuine, unsettling experiences that make the Sodbuster Bar a chilling testament to social proof, where a community collectively vouches for its resident specters. The lingering question remains, are these playful spirits or something more? Restless, unwilling to leave the party behind. 6. The St. James Hotel, Jamestown. If a local bar can hold such active, visible hauntings, what happens when a spirit refuses to check out of an elegant establishment, turning its history into an ongoing saga? Our next destination takes us to the historic St. James Hotel in Jamestown, a grand old building whose charm is matched only by its reputation for paranormal activity. For decades, both dedicated staff and unsuspecting guests have shared chilling encounters within its opulent walls. Reports frequently detail unsettling experiences, from fleeting apparitions caught in peripheral vision to disembodied voices whispering from empty corridors. Many point to the persistent presence of Sarah, a former maid, whose spectral form is most often sighted on the second floor. She's said to move through rooms, her presence often announced by cold spots or a faint, old-fashioned perfume. Her enduring attachment to the hotel isn't just local folklore. Numerous accounts from employees describe objects subtly shifting and doors opening or closing without explanation, often attributed to her lingering spirit still tending to her duties. Professional paranormal investigators, and drawn by the hotel's storied past, have also documented unexplained phenomena, further solidifying the St. James Hotel's reputation as a true hotspot for the supernatural. Their findings, combined with the consistent first-hand accounts, paint a compelling picture of a building where the past isn't just remembered, but actively relived by its unseen residents. Some say every spirit is bound to the very ground where they fell. And our next story tragically proves just how terrifyingly true that can be. Pulling back the veil on a dark history steeped in profound sorrow. 5 Old Main, Minot State University. Minot standing as the oldest and most iconic building on Minot State University's campus. Old Main is a grand, historic structure that outwardly projects academic prestige. Yet, beneath its stately facade lies a grim past, echoing with the despair of lives tragically cut short. The air inside can often feel heavy, laden with an inexplicable sadness that transcends time, particularly on the upper floors and in quieter corridors. The haunting here is deeply personal, rooted in 2 distinct, heartbreaking losses that refuse to fade into history. The most widely circulated and poignant tale involves a young female student who, in the early 20th century, ended her life by leaping from one of Old Main's high windows. Her desperate act of suicide imprinted an indelible mark on the building, and her restless spirit is believed to wander its halls, forever trapped in a cycle of profound grief. Reports from students and faculty describe inexplicable cold spots, fleeting, shadowy figures, and a pervasive sense of melancholy in the areas surrounding the windows from which she is thought to have jumped. Some have even claimed to hear faint, mournful sobs or catch glimpses of a spectral young woman, her face obscured by shadow, standing by the very windows that bore witness to her final moments. Adding another layer to Old Maine's tragic narrative is the documented death of a cleaning staff member within the building itself. While the exact circumstances are less widely known than the student's suicide, this additional loss further solidifies the building's reputation as a place where sorrow lingers. The combination of these two specific, unfortunate deaths provides a potent why for the hauntings, suggesting a concentration of profound human suffering within its historic walls. Visitors and longtime campus residents alike speak of an enduring, palpable presence, a somber reminder of the dark chapters etched into Old Maine's otherwise distinguished history. What happens when grief becomes an eternal resident, clinging to the very foundations of a beloved home, refusing to fade even a century and a half later? For Fort Abraham Lincoln State Park, Custer House, Mandan. Within the serene beauty of Fort Abraham Lincoln State Park stands the Custer House, a historical reconstruction that nevertheless breathes with the profound, lingering sorrow of its original inhabitants. This isn't just any old house, it's a monument to a monumental loss, forever linked to the tragic demise of General George Custer. On June 25, 1876, the general met his fateful end at the Battle of Little Bighorn, leaving behind a legacy of controversy and, more pertinently for our purposes, a heartbroken widow. The haunting of the Custer House is almost universally attributed to his wife, Libby Custer, whose grief was so profound, so utterly devastating, that it's believed her spirit continues its ghostly vigil within the home she once shared with her beloved husband. Visitors and park staff alike have reported a palpable sense of melancholic presence, particularly on the second floor in what would have been Libby's personal quarters. Some claim to have seen the fleeting image of a woman in white, endlessly wandering, as if in search of someone lost to time. Others describe hearing soft or mournful sighs or feeling an inexplicable sadness that weighs heavily on the soul. Beyond Libby's enduring sorrow, there are also whispers of the soldiers' own fear and anxiety, unpalpable in the days leading up to their final, ill-fated march. Their collective dread is said to linger, adding another layer of somber atmosphere to this historic site. The Custer House, therefore, is not merely haunted by an individual spirit, but by the enduring echoes of a national tragedy and a wife's unwavering, heartbreaking devotion that transcends the boundaries of life and death. Some places seem to absorb the very essence of human despair and violence, forever echoing the desperate acts of those within their walls. Our journey now leads us to one such chilling testament, a building that stands as a stark monument to a dark day in North Dakota's political history. 3. The Liberty Memorial Building, Bismarck. The stately Liberty Memorial Building in Bismarck, typically a symbol of civic duty and governance, harbors a history far more sinister than its dignified facade suggests. This very structure became the setting for a horrific murder-suicide in 1931, an event that ripped through the quiet halls of state power and left an indelible scar on the state's collective memory. On that fateful day, North Dakota Attorney General James Morris, under circumstances still debated and steeped in intense personal and political tension, fatally shot Deputy State Examiner Walter L. Johnson, The brutal tragedy unfolded on one of the building's upper floors, instantly transforming a place of public service into a scene of unspeakable violence and desperation. But the horror did not conclude with Johnson's death. In a desperate and final act, fraught with despair, Morris then turned the gun on himself, ending his own life in the very space where he had just committed murder. The abruptness and shocking brutality of this double tragedy, involving two prominent state officials, sent shockwaves across North Dakota, leaving a profound sense of bewilderment and sorrow. The building, originally designed to honor the sacrifices of war, became home to a different kind of specter, the palpable, lingering anguish of a violent and sudden death. Today, decades later, visitors and staff alike report a distinct and often unnerving heaviness in certain areas, particularly on the floor where the incident occurred. Whispers of disembodied voices, sudden and inexplicable temperature drops, and an overwhelming sense of profound sadness are common experiences for those who dare to linger. It is widely believed that the tormented spirits of Morris and Johnson remain inextricably bound to the Liberty Memorial Building, forever replaying the final, desperate moments of their intertwined lives. The sheer intensity of their violent end, the shock, and the unresolved emotional trauma are thought to have deeply etched their presence into the very fabric of the stone and mortar, making it one of North Dakota's most tragically haunted locations. This serves as a grim and potent reminder that not all battles are fought on distant fields of war. Some unfold in the quiet, desperate corners of human existence, leaving behind an echo that time itself cannot erase. If the echoes of betrayal and violence from the Liberty Memorial Building leave you unsettled, then prepare for a sorrow that chills the soul far deeper, a grief born from unimaginable loss and injustice. 2. Fort Totten State Historic Site. Fort Totten, North Dakota. Fort Totten stands today as a seemingly serene historic site, its imposing brick structures reflecting a bygone era. But beneath this tranquil facade lies a history steeped in profound tragedy and unresolved anguish, making it one of North Dakota's most deeply haunted locations. From 1891 to 1935, these very walls housed a federal Native American boarding school, part of a nationwide effort to forcibly assimilate indigenous children into Euro-American culture. It was here, within these cold, unforgiving buildings, that countless young lives were irrevocably altered and many tragically ended. The stories whispered through the empty halls and across the windswept grounds speak of children ripped from their families, forbidden to speak their native languages, practice their traditions, or wear their traditional clothing. They faced harsh discipline, cultural suppression, and often neglect. The devastating impact of rampant disease, exacerbated by poor sanitation and inadequate medical care, led to an alarmingly high mortality rate. Records, though incomplete, indicate that dozens of indigenous children died each year within this institution's confines, succumbing to illnesses like tuberculosis, influenza, and pneumonia. They were often buried in unmarked graves on the property, their identities and legacies erased, their spirits left restless. Visitors and staff frequently report hearing the faint, mournful cries of children, whispers in forgotten languages, and the sound of small footsteps pattering down empty corridors. Apparitions of young children have been seen peeking from windows or standing silently in doorways. Some have described a heavy and oppressive sadness that permeates the air, a visceral sense of suffering that lingers long after the children themselves perished. The profound suffering, the forced cultural genocide, and the tragic premature deaths of so many innocent children are the potent ingredients that fuel the pervasive and heartbreaking hauntings at Fort Totten. It is a place where the past isn't just remembered, it is felt in every chilling draft and every unseen presence, a poignant reminder of a dark chapter in American history. The spirits here aren't seeking to terrify. They are crying out for recognition, for remembrance, and perhaps for peace that never came in life. Some say every lost soul is bound to the very ground where their suffering ended, or where their last breath was taken. And as we reach the chilling pinnacle of our journey, the final location proves just how terrifyingly true that can be. 1. North Dakota State Penitentiary, Bismarck. Our most intensely haunted site is the North Dakota State Penitentiary in Bismarck. For decades, this grim fortress held the state's most dangerous criminals. And within its unforgiving walls, a history of unimaginable violence, rampant disease, and despair etched itself into the very fabric of the building. The air here doesn't just feel cold, it feels heavy with the echoes of countless tortured souls. A palpable oppression that clings to every shadow and every abandoned cell block. The most notorious event, a brutal scar on its timeline, was the infamous prison riot of 1904. On that terrifying day, over 200 desperate inmates erupted in a chaotic frenzy, transforming the prison into a hellscape. What began as a desperate bid for freedom quickly devolved into a bloody struggle for survival. A cacophony of shouts, clanging metal, and gunfire. Lives were brutally cut short on both sides, leaving a permanent stain of tragedy. Amongst the casualties was Captain John W. Frayne, a correctional officer who was brutally stabbed to death during the uprising. His life extinguished in the ensuing madness. His untimely and violent end ensures his spirit, along with countless other prisoners who perished in the melee, remains trapped within the granite and steel, forever reliving those horrific moments of pure chaos and terror. Visitors, paranormal investigators, and even former guards have reported an overwhelming array of phenomena. Full-bodied apparitions flicker in and out of sight in the old cell blocks. Disembodied screams and guttural moans emanate from empty cells, and the chilling sound of keys jingling or heavy footsteps can be heard echoing down deserted corridors. Sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature are common, particularly in areas where violent altercations or solitary confinement cells once stood. The sheer volume of suffering and violent deaths, not just from the catastrophic 1904 riot, but from decades of brutal living conditions. Disease and the profound despair of imprisonment has created a potent, undeniable spiritual vortex. The North Dakota State Penitentiary is not just haunted, it is a living monument to human suffering. A place where the dead refuse to rest, their anguish echoing through time. A chilling and unforgettable reminder of the darkest chapters of North Dakota's past. As we've seen, our world is filled with shadows and whispers of the unknown, making even the most familiar places terrifying. Now, we want to hear from you. Which of these 15 locations would you dare to spend a night in? Or have you visited one? Join us next week as we delve into the chilling depths of cursed objects. Until then, stay in the light.